I went to Target yesterday and bought 2 bottles of hair product, a bottle of shampoo, a box of trash bags, and 1 Halloween decoration, $70 on my Target Red card. That's with my 5% discount. My son's looking at the cart and going, Mom, this was $70. We didn't even get anything. Yeah, I know, kid. And he doesn't even remember a time when you could get a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent area of town for $600 a month. Now a 1-bedroom apartment in a mediocre part of town is $2,000 a month. Gas is $5.49 a gallon. It cost me $65 to fill up my tank. Before COVID, my grocery bill per month was $350. Now it's $600 a month, and I buy the exact same amount of groceries. This shit is out of control. What does the bourgeoisie think that the outcome of this is going to be? They cannot possibly believe that extracting every last dime out of the working class by inflating all of the prices and paying us poverty wages is a sustainable economic model. And the thing is that I could be mad at the bourgeoisie all day long, but they are doing exactly what is expected. They are greedy sociopaths. This is what they do. I am more mad at Americans because instead of uniting against this common enemy who is robbing us blind, we are fighting over whether or not drag queens can read books to children. At what point are we going to stop taking this shit lying down, put our foots down, and say, fuck this, and not allow it anymore? We cannot even afford to live in this country. We can't even afford to die in this country. The Republican Party is bought and paid for by the same greedy sociopaths who are robbing you, me, and our families blind every day. They are manipulating you into believing that they are going to save you from the problems that they created in your life. They have not walked a single inch in your working class shoes. They have no idea the struggle that you and I go through every day in this economy just to feed our families and keep them safe. They are gaslighting you into believing that I am your enemy so that you're distracted while they continue to do their dirt behind your back because they know that if you knew what they were doing, you wouldn't vote for them anymore. Why are you listening to them? The Democratic Party, with the exception of a very small few, is filled with weak and spineless politicians who placate to everyone just so that they can get reelected because they want to maintain some semblance of power in Congress. Why are you placing all of your faith and hope in this party to save us? Your religious leaders are funded by the same corporate sponsors who have bought your politicians, and they are weaponizing your faith against you so that you are distracted by a made-up enemy, your gay neighbor or your liberal coworker, so that you are not paying attention to the extreme financial crimes that they are committing against all of us right under your nose. In the richest country in the world, 500,000 people are homeless when there are more than enough homes to house them, and millions of children are hungry or food insecure, having their one free meal taken away from them at school. 10-year-olds are being forced to bear the child of their rapist. People are rationing their insulin and dying because they cannot afford health care. The water's polluted, the air is polluted, the soil is devoid of nutrients because we have oversaturated it in pesticides. We're not going to be able to grow our own food in the coming decades. The planet is literally dying. And they are putting hotels up in space and telling you that they can't afford to pay you a living wage, and you are believing them. This period is going to go down in the history books as one of the most epic failures that America ever allowed to happen. Future generations are going to study this time in history and ask themselves, why did they not do anything? How could they not see? And if you're sitting behind your phone right now and thinking to yourself, it's not me, it's those goddamn weirdo trans kids, then you are the people that they will be talking about. Wake the fuck up.
Hello guys, this is your presenter Agent Tech Stories, and I hope that you're doing fine with it for your day. So in today's discussion, we're going to be talking about something which is really important. Now, I know for some 1 year later now, we have been seeing increased inflation, especially to people who are staying in the United States. And they've been asking in ways, they've been calling out the cooperatives. They've been calling out the corporates who are trying to make life so hard for people, the inflation and everything which has been happening. And the world itself is looking into the US, everything which is going on. But now, the United States, this is now history. The United States have been built, have been made in systemic discrimination, the systemic issues between black and white people, things which have been happening, right? And the history has it that white people have enjoyed some privileges that black people haven't enjoyed those privileges, right? But now the inflation which is coming is eating both people, whether you're a proletariat, whether you're a bourgeoisie. Now this is what happens. It is saying, or some white people are saying into it, that black people and white people need to unify to stop this menace. The menace is we have few people who are controlling resources, few people who are controlling important resources, few people who are controlling how goods and services and the prices of goods, how these things run. The greedy corporates which are doing this to people. Now white people are seeing into it that they need to come together to discuss about this, because they feel like there is power when they call black people. And I know and I understand why they're doing this. Look, we have things like the civil rights movements. We have things like affirmative action that black people have fought for, but now they know very well that if we involve black people, because this is a shared problem, that if we involve black people in this, we are going to have a collective objective, that is to fight the greedy corporate which is trying to make people the life so hard, the rent so high, the housing system is going crazy, and everything is just going crazy in the US. So with me, I have a compilation of these videos that I want us to see, and I know we are going to see the high life crisis that is in the United States, especially women complaining about the crisis, the inflation, and everything, amongst other things that we have been addressing in this channel. So a lot of people have talked about the US and how the US is falling. Now today's focus is on the economic falling of the USA, and you're gonna be seeing how people are going to complain about this. But the main question that I would like to ask you, even before you jumping and watching the video, do you think that it is time for black people and middle class white people to unite? Tell me what you think just before diving right into the video, because as you can see, this woman was complaining about this is the time for them to unite, to unify. She's calling out everybody to come together to stop the differences, so that now they can work together, they can solve the problem. Because I know black people have been going through this, not for the first time, not for the second time, not for the third time. They have been living, this is what their life have been, but they don't have any generational wealth that they have acquired. They don't have any privilege which is protecting them. The system is not for them, So the white lady is saying to it that this is the time to call white people together and black people together, so that they can work together, and this dates it back in the history. Now let's watch the videos, and then I'll be back with my commentary.
And I think we might be living at our in-laws' house until, we get old and gray, because the housing market is absolutely ridiculous. It's so sad, because back in the day, you're able to just go to school, get a good job, get married, be able to buy a house, start a family, and possibly be able to stay part-time at home even with the children to help raise them. Now it's like, no, you get married, where are you living? Maybe we're gonna live in a shoebox, maybe we're gonna be homeless living on the street, because why is a 1-bedroom 1-bath like $800,000? Like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how things are going right now, because it's like, it's pretty hopeless for this generation, for us that are trying to start our lives and get a place. It's like, rent is absolutely insane. You can't save any money to be able to buy a place. They don't want us to own anything, and they literally want to like destroy your dreams of starting a life. It's just so embarrassing.
So on today's episode of Why Are They Charging That Much for Rent, my downstairs neighbor, okay, exact same floor plan that I have. I signed my lease in January, and I know there's gonna be people that's like, that's cheap or that's expensive, but whatever. 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,100 square feet. I pay $1,639 before they add stuff. But my base rent is $1,639. After everything, it's $1,715. That's what I pay every month. Okay, so $1,639. So my downstairs neighbors lived there for like 2 months and then moved out. I would love to know the tea on that, I would. And if you've been here since my Florida days, I'm not talking about the downstairs neighbors that called the cops. That's a whole separate story in a whole separate state, okay? Now we're in Texas. So anyways, downstairs neighbors move out. They moved out in Florida too, but also Texas. And I'm like, so I go on the website to see how much they're renting that apartment for. Keep in mind my 1639. $2247. I know every realtor's argument's gonna be like, yeah, but it's the summer, it's a peak time to move. Is that not like a $600 increase in the last 5 months? I'm gonna need to have like a chat with whoever signed that lease, genuinely. Because you're getting robbed. They haven't even moved in yet. I don't know if anyone has, but it was the only 2-bed, 2-bath apartment open for $2247.
This morning I read that if your parents make $100K 40 years ago in 1983, then you'd have to make $292,000 in 2023 just to have the same purchasing power adjusted for inflation. 300K is the new 100K.
Talk about Halloween, talk about horror, talk about scary. 80% of Americans have run out of money. Okay, the Federal Reserve just published a study stating that only 20% of the richest Americans still have excess savings after the pandemic. And the other 80% have less cash on hand than before the pandemic began. Households saved a combined $2.3 trillion during the various pandemic lockdowns. Like, the savings rate was going up, and it's estimated that 1.3 trillion of that has now been spent.
Listen to me. I will never be able to afford a house. I will never be able to afford a house.
Home prices are rising nationwide as inflation remains stubborn and mortgage rates remain high as Americans compete for fewer available homes. Home prices in March were up 0.4% compared to February. Now that's the second month in a row that we have seen gains.
My parents' house that is $195,000 back in '96 is now worth like $500,000 to $700,000. My children will never be able to have the life I live because I can't afford to do it.
I don't think any of us thought when we were growing up that owning a home would be a luxury. Like, maybe we thought it would be a bit difficult, but not like a luxury that basically only the rich will be able to afford.
No one that works a full-time job should be facing homelessness. And that's what my family is facing right now.
Everybody in America kind of knows, like, it's over. Like, there will be no recovery. Like, this is not like the other times. This ain't like 2008 where, oh, we'll crash and then we'll get back up.
Because right now, this economy, this world is set up to make average American families fail.
If I can get my hands on a nice lump sum of money, baby, I'm buying land in another country and I'm out of here because there's nothing left here but struggle.
Days when somebody can support themselves and live comfortably with just one income. I have a full-time job that years ago I could have raised a family on what I make. And it's like now I have to do side hustles, you know, to supplement my income because it's gotten so fucking expensive to live.
It's crazy you have to work like 75% of your life, like donate, give up 75% of your time pretty much just to literally survive, just to live. Not to live comfortably, not to live well, just to live.
Then it's like I woke up all of a sudden and my insurance has doubled, food has fucking tripled, gas is so expensive, electric bill over double, my fucking rent went up. I can't be the only one that's drowning.
Everybody is going through this bullshit. Everyone. Can't go to Canada, can't go to the UK. Everyone is dealing with just not being able to sustain life.
I've never had so little money in my entire life. All of my money goes towards my bills and food for me to eat. And half the time, I have to choose between filling my car with gas or eating.
Wish that I could just have a job and do my job and go to work every day and it would just pay for life. It would pay for a roof over my head, it would pay for food on my table, it would pay for medical bills, it would pay enough for me to like save money so I could retire one day, you know, like basic things.
I am 36 years old and I have nothing to show for 20 plus years of work.
20% of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their savings account. Well, why does that matter? It matters because if you don't have $1,000 in your savings account, then you need to budget your money better. The expenses should be last. That means you're living above your means.
I don't need to budget. Prices either need to go down or my pay needs to go up. I think I'm someone who's fairly reasonable with my spending. I pay my bills. I take care of my needs first and foremost. I take care of my wants within a reasonable parameter. Like, I don't spend exorbitant amounts of money to the point where I need to track how much I'm spending because money's just flying out of my ears. Things just cost too much. So again, my pay needs to go up.
So our 2 bedrooms right now, they have no view, no updated appliances. Neighbors are a little loud. Those are going for $3,900 right now, which is a steal. We do ask that you make 5 times the rent, so at $3,900, you need to at least make $20,000 a month in this economy, which is great. To rent our semi-luxury apartments with loud neighbors, roaches here and there, you will need a 760 credit score or higher. Higher is better. And we also have no security cameras in the garage, so if your car gets broken into, we don't care. We do also require an $8,000 security deposit that you may or may not get back. Leaning towards the may not. We do also require first and second month's rent to move in. For our lease terms, we do have a 36 and a 48. We do need to see your entire lease's rent inside your bank account to move in. So that'll be $3,900 times that 36-month lease on top of. So we'll need to see $140,000 inside your bank account right now to move in. Also need the $8,000 security deposit on top of the first and second month's rent to move in.
Hey, I know I probably, the white lady or generally white people want us to get back together and fight and talk about this menace which is affecting everybody, whether you're black or white. Now, I understand something which happened during the post-Civil War, during the Reconstruction era, that is 1865 to 1867. Talking about the unity, you know, now after the Civil War, during the Reconstruction era, there was a brief moment when poor and middle-class white people and black people shared common economic interest, right? Now, this happened particularly in the South. During the formation of the first labor unions and the populist movement in the late 19th century, there were efforts to unite poor black and white farmers against economic dominance of wealthy landowners and industrialists. You understand? So the unity between black people and white people helped them to fight, you know, wealthy landowners and industrialists. Looking back to what was happening, it's still the same thing which is happening today. Today, people who we can call as the landowners are the corporates, the people who can't even pay the tax, the people who have the power to lend the government money. So the few people who control factors, you know, factors that enhance wealth creation, they hold important resources that helps create you know, everything. So this means that they also determine how we black people, or how generally people in the United States are going to be doing their things in the United States. No, but this was short-lived. The unity between black people and white people was short-lived, and I understand why sometimes white people might want also black people to join them in this movement, because I know, as a matter of fact, both black people and white people are going through the same thing, right? So they saw to it, okay, this is just what I see, they saw to it that black people fight for the civil rights movements through the Civil War, which was later joined by also white people who helped remove, you know, the slavery that people from Southern United were trying to do to, you know, black people, to still enslave them through the black codes, right? So they saw that it was successful, but then they are trying to rejuvenate the same thing which happened during those days so that it can happen again. Now, they saw to it that black people fought for affirmative action. It happened. Black people fought for civil rights movement. It happened. Let's see the potential of the voices of black people in everything. Now, black people are being invited to also help fight this menace which is happening in the United States, as the, you know, the increasing living standards of people, poor wages, high cost of living, and everything is happening. So amongst other things, and this let it back to labor movements which happened during the early 19th century. Those unity where white people and black people worked side by side, everyone looking after each other. And at the stance of the lady was trying to tell everybody to join hands together and to do things together. And she knew the power of the unity that people can have by just talking together, by just standing and sharing the same problems that people are facing. And I also believe that that's the same thing that we should be talking about. That's the same thing that we should be addressing. And for me, now this is what I can say generally. I know sometimes black people might not want to do this because they have suffered alone and white people never supported them, but at least I know few white people who have stood with black people, and I understand the stance of black people who might not want to unite with white people. I understand that, but if you look at the bigger picture, you want to feed your kids, you want your kids to go to school, it can be of benefit if you people stand together with middle class white people, because it is only few people who are controlling the system. And now if you have the system with you, the majority of you have the power to control everything which is happening around you. And I believe that it is possible. You can do it, So during the early 20th century, and I'm gonna be getting back to history, the labor movement saw some unity between black and white workers, particularly in industries where they worked side by side, such as in the steel mills, railroads, meat packing plants, and the Great Migration, where the millions of black people moved from the rural south to industrial cities in the north. Brought about the possibilities for class-based solidarity. Now after these people saying the unity that both black people and white people are having, they decided that we are going to bring the division. Now racial division persisted, however, as many labor unions were racially exclusive, barring black workers from membership, employers exploited racial tension by using black workers as strike breakers, which further deepened the division between black and white workers. The economic interests of white workers were often placed above racial solidarity, perpetuating segregation even within the working class. These poor elites, not this poor elite, these rich elites, they were few. They saw to it that it is dangerous for white people and black people to unite. So when black people and white people unite, they saw to it that they can be easily overtaken. So what did they do? They tried so much to to pose black people as threats to white people. And so they were working together, that they were working together before, they started removing it. White people started seeing black people as threat, and they never wanted to work together. And that's the same thing. While people are suffering from the crisis of everything, the inflation and everything which is happening in the United States, there are few people who are using this time to exploit you. There are few people who are using this time to make your life so unbearable. Now whether you are white, middle class white person, whether you are and everything, the power of unity, it's important. Now this is just my opinion, what I'm giving about this. The power of unity is important, and I understand, and I'll say it again, I understand if we have fellow black people who might not agree with white people bearing on the history and things which have been happening. I totally understand that, but that's one thing respectfully that I can't talk for all black people in regards to this subject. And whatever I said, these are just my opinion in regards to this. For the future of the kids, for the future of everything, sometimes you might need the unity. Try understand each other. Sometimes I know we cannot forgive each other, but we can try work together, So that was my 2 cents in regards to this video. I hope that we get to learn, we get to see how things are really happening outside the world, and I put you in my prayers in everything that is happening in your world. Until then, as you know, this is your presenter Eugene Talk Stories, and I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, peace, love, and harmony.